Iraq's presidential election has been postponed indefinitely. With only 58 of the 329 MPs in Baghdad's parliament showing up on Monday after calls for a boycott by various political blocs, it was impossible to secure the required two-thirds majority for the election, a representative of the parliamentary administration told AFP. The country's highest court had temporarily stopped the candidacy of the Kurdish politician Hoshia Sebari in the presidential election on Sunday. The decision was based on complaints leveled against Sebari by MPs. The presidency, which is held for a period of 4 years, is largely representative. However, as long as there is no new president, the political crisis of confidence in Iraq threatens to worsen. It is the president's job to appoint a head of government from the largest party bloc within 15 days of his election. The office traditionally goes to a Shia Muslim. No government was formed after the October elections. And in addition to the 68-year-old Sebari from the Kurdistan Democratic Party, the PDK, the previous incumbent Bahram Saleh from the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, the PUK, was also considered a promising candidate for the office of president. The largest group in Iraq's parliament, led by the Shiite cleric Moqtada Sadr, announced on Saturday that it would boycott Monday's elections. Other important groups in parliament then spoke out against an election under the current conditions. There are around 25 candidates in the presidential election. It is customary for the presidency to go to a representative of the Kurdish minority. Sebari and Saleh are running for the two rival parties that call the shots in the autonomous region of Kurdistan. Before his inaugural visit to US President Joe Biden in the White House, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz emphasized his unity with the United States in the Ukraine crisis. The aim of his visit is to strengthen our transatlantic partnership, said Scholz in an interview with the Washington Post published on Sunday evening. He said, "The United States is Germany's and Europe's most important ally. We are in NATO together, and it is absolutely critical that there is strong unity between all major partners, the transatlantic parties, and between the United States and Germany. We have worked hard to send a clear message to Russia that it will pay a heavy price if it intervenes in Ukraine," he said. He praised Biden's involvement in the crisis. He said, "I really appreciate what President Biden is doing in the bilateral talks between the United States and Russia. They are very difficult." And Scholz responded to criticism of Germany's position in the Ukraine crisis. "We are the strongest economic supporter of Ukraine, and we will continue to be," he said. However, the Chancellor again defended the German government's policy of not supplying arms to Ukraine. Germany has also been criticized for its adherence to the Nord Stream 2 Baltic Sea pipeline, which is supposed to bring gas from Russia to Germany, bypassing Ukraine. The US government has repeatedly stressed that in the event of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, Nord Stream 2 would not continue. However, they left open whether there was a corresponding commitment from the federal government. When asked if Germany would suspend the commissioning of the pipeline in the event of a Russian invasion, Scholz said, "We are ready to take all necessary steps together with our allies." But he did not make a specific commitment to Nord Stream 2. According to the newspaper, the interview with the Washington Post was conducted in English on Friday. It was the first conversation with an international medium for Scholz. And this week, Scholz will travel to Ukraine and Russia. After more than a week of protests against corona measures and vaccination regulations in the Canadian capital, Ottawa, Mayor Jim Watson declared a state of emergency. This measure was necessary because of the serious danger and threat to the safety of local residents from the ongoing protests, it said in a statement on Sunday. The city needs more support from other municipalities and from the government. The police again called on the demonstrators on Sunday to leave the city center. There was a disturbance of the peace overnight. Since Saturday, they have issued more than 450 fines, including for dangerous driving and noise pollution. Several people were taken into custody, and almost 100 cases, including allegations of hate crimes, are being investigated, the police said. An estimated 5,000 people took part in the protests on Saturday, according to Police Commissioner Peter Slowly. Around 1,000 trucks and other vehicles blocked parts of the city center. Residents were asked to stay away from downtown. The protests in Ottawa began a week ago with the arrival of a convoy of hundreds of trucks. The so-called Freedom Convoy, and demonstrators have been holding out in the city near Parliament ever since. Slowly, and other city politicians spoke on Saturday of a siege and a threat to democracy. The police set up barricades, and as I said, residents were asked to stay away from downtown. Demonstrations also took place in other Canadian cities, including Toronto, Calgary, Quebec City, and Vancouver. That was reported by Canadian media. The US crowdfunding company GoFundMe had recently collected donations for the demonstrating truckers. The campaign was discontinued a few days ago, as announced by GoFundMe on its website. And the reason is, there is now evidence that the previously peaceful demonstration has now become an occupation with illegal activities. Donors initially had time to apply for a refund, otherwise the money would be donated to a charity. The procedure was later corrected again. All donors should now automatically get their money back, it's said. The action sparked controversy between Canadian and US politicians. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton tweeted that he had assembled a team to investigate the potential fraud. Donors in Texas will get justice, Paxton said. Paula Simons, member of the Canadian Senate, responded to the tweet, and she pointed out that Canada is a sovereign nation. It also raises some questions when a group which wants to oust the government is supported with American dollars. And US billionaire Elon Musk also got involved. He criticized GoFundMe for withholding $10 million in donations, the New York Post reports. Musk described the company as professional thieves. Well, the protests in Canada initially focused on vaccination requirements for truck drivers and then on the government's overall pandemic restrictions. In January, a regulation came into force according to which truck drivers returning from the USA must also present proof of vaccination. A majority of the Canadian population supports the pandemic measures, according to a recently published poll. In Canada, more than 77% of the population is fully vaccinated. The Swedish music and streaming service Spotify has apparently deleted several dozen episodes of the controversial podcaster Joe Rogan. This is reported by the US web magazine The Verge. About 70 episodes of the audio program have disappeared from the offer. It is unclear whether the episodes were deliberately selected from the more than 1,700 episodes. Spotify has not yet commented on this. Joe Rogan is very popular in the USA, mainly because of his outspoken opinion on many issues. He once smoked cannabis in a studio with Elon Musk, but has recently spoken out against vaccination. He's also said to have repeatedly used the N-word. Rogan apologized on Instagram. I know there's no reason for most people that a white person should ever say that word, let alone publicly on a podcast, and I agree with that now, he said. A few days ago, Rogan and Spotify were criticized for controversial and sometimes obviously false statements about corona and vaccinations. Musician Neil Young pulled all songs from the platform. His colleagues David Crosby, Graham Nash, and Stephen Stills followed suit. After the criticism, Spotify wants to provide posts about COVID-19 with a reference that leads to scientifically based information from reliable sources. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.